Good evening. Tonight, I want to speak to you about something that I believe is very important to all of us. By all of us, I mean human beings in general, and specifically those that are in the world of the living, aka anyone watching this video. Um, it's important for me to, unlike some of my other spoken word videos, to fill in the blanks to a certain extent on some of the things I'm speaking on so that it can bring you in closer as an observer to the story that I'm telling. Uh, Simply because if you don't understand some of the things, then enjoying the art of the spoken word can be lost in translation. Okay? So, recently, um, I had a loved one that made transition. Okay? And unfortunately, this is not like a new thing, for me. Um, at times, it's a good coping mechanism to be able to address it in a certain kind of way. You know, at times, unfortunately, I feel like people take someone's passing and focus so much negative energy on it that it compounds the issue of actually losing that person or going through the grief process, things of that nature. You know, I feel like it's much more helpful to find positive, therapeutic, even happy ways to address stuff like this. You know, one way for me is through writing it down. You know, whether it's something that I write to myself or whether I write something to that person who obviously will never get to read it. You know, or whether I do the spoken word because that's able to touch people that also have a connection with that person but are not that person specifically. You know, another thing that I need to fill in the blanks about is certain aspects of the story. You know, I am nothing if not an honest person. Some people use the cliche, I am an open book. You know, it's not for me to judge whether or not that's my specific thing because I'm not going to judge anyone else, you know. But I try to live my life and be as honest as possible, uh, not just with other people, but within myself. You know, like, I never want to be a person who wakes in the morning and can't be honest with themselves when they look in the mirror because that creates difficulties in how not only you present yourself to the world, but how you interact with the world. You know, and for some, honesty is not a good policy. You know, they prefer to be someone they're not, because it's more comfortable. Especially online. And how that pertains to this is there are facets of our story, me and this person, that are ugly, that are like not things that other people are strong enough to say out loud, let alone put it out there for public consumption. Now, my loved one had some tough times, man. You know, like, I don't necessarily think that in the formative stages of his life that it was too much, you know. I do believe that over time, it became too much to handle for just him, you know. And it's the third time. Unfortunately, in life, sometimes the people that you love the most love you the least, you know, and they don't even realize it. Or at least that's maybe me trying to see the good things in people, you know, instead of the bad. But I really feel like some of the parts of his story run parallel to mine, where I don't think I know had people given more of themselves to him, that I have zero doubt that his story would have ended the way that it did, you know. And the way it runs parallel to mine is not on the same level, but some things of the same issues that he had are things that I struggled with at times when I was younger. And another throughway to what happened to him was a lot of people turned their back on me, completely gave up on me. People that I was there for, that I loved with every fiber of my being, with my whole heart, you know. And over time, whatever I was going through, somewhat became conditional for them, you know. And I see those storylines taking place in his life story where people were trying to help him at several different times. But at times in life, people just give up. You know, people feel like me dedicating this amount of time or this amount of physical energy, never mind emotional energy, to another person, and whatever that person is seeking for the person that's struggling is not coming to fruition. And so all those things culminate a lot of times in people developing a general aloof nature to what the person is going through. If not, you know, like outright indifference, you know? And in the human family, I feel like, you know, those are things that we need to address. You know, there are some personal things between him and I that happened that I won't go into details about. And it's not for the honesty, but it's out of respect for those that are no longer living, you know. But like I said before, I will share things that, even if they don't paint me in the best light, or if they don't make him look like an angel, they're still the truth nonetheless, you know. And I shouldn't be judged for that, because the truth is the truth, you know. At one point in time, this person, you know, tried to take themselves out of the ball game, you know, and an older person that they looked up to a lot had killed themselves, you know, and he witnessed it, you know, a part of it, you know, and it had a tremendously negative effect on him. So much so that in our stages of life, I think we was about, this might have been in between 18 to 20 or something like that. It's been a long time. But we were together one time, and I'm at his house. And I don't remember exactly what I was doing. Like, I don't know whether it was playing the game or listening to music. I was in the living room, and he was like, you know, I need to take a bath or something. You know, I'm like, do what you do. You know, it's your house. You know, so he went in the bathroom, closed the door, and I'm doing whatever I'm doing in the other area. You know, and this is like, it's been a long ass time. You know, like maybe like an hour or something. And I'm like, damn, like who in the hell washes their ass for an hour, right? And at one point, I heard the water running, but at another point, I didn't hear anything. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Did you fall in the toilet, motherfucker? So I go and I knock on the door, and I don't get no response. And like I don't hear no more water running, and like I'm knowing that something ain't right. So I'm knocking and I'm not getting a response. So, I just forced open the door. And, what came to my eyes was something you don't never want to see. You know, he was hanging, you know, from the ceiling. There was like a footstool or a chair, I can't remember exactly what it was, underneath him, like kicked over. And obviously he had just got off of whatever he was on trying to hurt himself, you know. And I was able to get him down. Like I didn't have to perform CPR or nothing like that, thank goodness. I didn't want to make out with him to save his life. But he's my family, I'd have did it if I had to. That's me trying to inject some humor into a very dark situation. Because once I realized that he was alright, like I just got pissed off at him. Like, motherfucker, you can talk to me. Like I don't give a fuck what you going through. It can never be to a point where you can't come to your cousin and talk. Like in the Midwest, when people refer to their cousins, they call them cuz. It ain't got nothing to do with what you might think it got something to do. So I'm like, cuz, what the fuck is going on, man? Like shit ain't that bad for you to be doing some shit like this. Like he had like rope burns on his neck that didn't go away. Like it was some real shit, you know? And I mentioned that and I told that story because it's a part of this. You know, at one point in time when we were together, you know, we had a function at his house. A lot of people, you know, and I did something I shouldn't have done, something that I knew better, and I trusted him in that moment. And although I'm not perfect, and I am 1,000% sure that I was not a perfect person to him at all times, that my trust was misplaced that evening, because his choices, and also, you don't never look at the people you love and think that, you know, some tomfoolery is afoot, you know. So in doing things that I knew I shouldn't have done, it caused some severe damage to me, you know. And this person added on to that and compounded that by taking advantage of me when I was in a place where I wasn't myself, you know. And all these things are directly tied together because I would have never been in that spot had it not been his conscious choice to put me in that spot. And it's on me to have like somehow psychically seen it coming and not did it, you know. But you live and you learn, you know. So if any of these things if any of these things are too much, I don't make no apologies, because we can't go about our lives and have something be superficial when it needs to be something different, because people don't learn from things if there's not a lesson in it, and despite whatever had went on, like I did fist fight him, but the next day, 2 weeks from later, I was not his enemy. I was still his family, and I was not fighting him every time I saw him, and I forgave him, you know, and he would come up to me and be like, "Yo, cuz, thank you so much. Like, I realized that the shit that I was on some wrong shit. Like, if I'd have succeeded that day and you didn't save me, like, what what the fuck kind of shit would that be, you know?" And then also on the second thing, he felt a lot of guilt about it, you know. But I would always kick it to him like, dude, part of that was your fault, part of that was my fault. I should have known better, but I'm not mad at you. And whatever were parts of that later on, those are things that I couldn't take away, but I don't blame you for that. I don't hate you for that, you know. Like, I couldn't fix the things that was down the road by not doing what I did in the beginning. Life doesn't work that way, you know. Science and academia tell us that time is linear, but until we're gone, we don't never know how everything works. So for us to be saying, you know, something final on things of that nature, you don't really know until it's your turn, you know. And so I wrote this, and it's a little bit longer than stuff that I normally write. And I've taken 16 something minutes to do an intro, and it's because it's very important. Like, if I'm reading this and it's not touching you the way it's supposed to, then it's not serving its purpose, And without understanding some of the backstory, you won't understand the content, you know. So let me go into it. It doesn't have a title. Sometimes we make decisions that we can't take back. I don't blame you for that. But as a result of your choices, you're never coming back. And I'm left to hold on to that, bereft of solace in moments that call for strength, when life is cut short of its length. I think back to the beginning, before the cards were dealt, when your journey was an unwritten book on the shelf, before you even knew what your life would be like, when there was no strife, no pain, no addiction, no sense of loss or affliction. You were a blank slate with no understanding of fate, but destiny and purpose are two different things. Ignorant of the problems that just living your life brings. The author of your story is you, with the metaphorical pen in hand. And those pages are the script for your plan. Whether happiness or sadness, you are the catalyst for the characters in your manuscript. As the pages flip, time slips, and the narrative gains its focus. I too was there from the beginning, so I'm qualified to quote this. We don't choose our family, our parents, or wealth. At creation, we have no knowledge of self. As such, all we have are life's lessons. In truth, only the beauty of its blessings, not the confusion or the depressing aspects of life, but the precious nature of this gift. We're not meant to drift away from it in spite. One time, back in the day, I saved your life. You tried to give back your gift, not thinking of mine. I was just in the right place at the right time. It's a difficult plot twist in the biography you wrote, where I'm left to write in the margins things you knew, but they never got told. As stories unfold, you make a choice that forever altered my path, like wounds from a knife. It caused pain and confusion that scarred me for life. But I'm not mad at you. And who am I to think that I'm too worthy to suffer, to struggle, the ferocious battle to recover, hoping that I'd have another chance. Just a glance to pick up the pieces and move in a positive direction with my life. For who am I to question when things go awry? In the future, when my friends will begin one by one to die, I'd question why. Why would this be put on my plate? Serving only to compound my problems and make me question my faith. But this is not about me, it's about you. One who, for though things were not perfect, I'd sincerely hope you'd realize that you were worth it. Not worthless, not cursed from a broken heart. Your love would never leave you, wanting you to punish your heart. Yet when you awoke in the morning, that's where you'd start. At the end of the day, when you'd lay, that's where you put your head to rest. These are the cards that we're supposed to play close to our vest. But I tried to help you see the silver lining. You're rhyming. A way to edit your story. For when we are lost, our ego tells the story. It wants glory, not the meek or the humble of heart. It tells you this poison will lessen the pain in your heart. But ego is only a tool, and it should never be the driver. It pretends to be good, but for the most part is a liar. It never tires to feed selfish desires until it's too late when we realize we ain't in the frying pan, we already in the fire. Stealing and lying to feed its hunger, it only focuses on itself and its needs, not the other, but brother, cousin. Let me pull you in close so that you hear me clearly. You are not a ghost. You're not hanging from a rope. You just needed more help from those who loved you the most. But most gave up on you, just like they did me. They just left us to be, too tired to deal with helping us. To some, the fuss was too much. When people are broken, it doesn't just call for words, it requires deeds. Not to show you, but to prove they care that much. But they too are only human. And they too deserve forgiveness. They had to have known that you weren't swimming, you were drowning in sorrows and woes. Pain and addiction are mighty foes. When it has you in its throes, you feel froze. You told me as much. I was never out of touch. I knew that you knew that I was not leaving you to your own devices. I only knew that because I have my own vices. That knowledge is priceless. Despite this, my best efforts failed, as did yours. Eventually, we all succumb, in one way or another, to your father and your mother, for your brother and your sisters, for your friends and others, the loved ones that missed you. I'll say I don't, because I carry you in my heart. I won't have to say I won't, or I can't, or I don't understand. That's what I learned from the start. That part gave me the happiness to celebrate the times we shared. I'll never take part in the cremation of care. I was always there. Now I'm here, and you're gone. But just like back then, with me, it's always on. My love was unconditional. The late night calls, the visits, I knew they helped you. You might not have known they helped me too. If only you didn't have the one life, but two. You'll pull through. Not in this one, but the next. I'll be the same way as every single time we ever met. I'll cherish the times that we spent. The memories will be happy. Because I can't be living in the world of the living, focusing on the world of the dead. That's not a healthy place for the head. So instead, I wrote this because we couldn't speak. You know how to reach my thoughts where I keep the words that I spoke for the footnotes to the book you never wrote. So, me writing this was in the perspective of someone penning their autobiography. But just like for creatives at times in life, life happens and you don't get to finish that story, and at times people who don't have your best interests at heart um, get a hand in telling your story, and it may paint it in a light that's completely opposite of the truth, you know, or even people that love you too much don't want to put too much truth on it for what it actually bears, and when someone is gone, that does them no justice. You know, you can't pour sugar on shit and make flapjacks. You dig? If it ain't all good, say it ain't all good. If it was wonderful, say it was wonderful. And let it be what it's gonna be, because just like in life, you be a certain way towards somebody or you are a certain type of person. When that shit gets cut midstream like this, you know, uh, for a large number of people, that's where their memory is going to be, and is that what you want? You know, all I could really try to say or take from it is that in a analogous sense, okay, life is a journey. You're traveling down a road, and it's not just one fork in the road. It's like a branching tree of decisions and situations, and a lot of times a super bad choice can limit the amount of avenues or branches in this tree that you're making your decisions from, and they can also keep you away from knowledge and understanding of how to course correct if you feel like the path that you're on is either not what you wanted it to be or that it wasn't meant to be, you know. And me personally, I can testify to that because so many of the things in my life that were terrible, I believed for a long time that I was resigned to those things and I was never going to change, and I'm a living testament to the fact that that's not true. I was just misguided and didn't understand some of the things that I understand today, you know, and looking at loss and things like that in a positive light, it doesn't allow me to be in a space where I can't grow from losing my family. Like I'm not about to be, ruining my waking daily life because someone is gone. That doesn't do their memory the right justice, in my humble opinion. All the memorial ink that I got is so that I can look and remember the happy moments and touch my arm, touch my forearm, and remember the good things instead of focusing on their homegoing ceremony or how they passed. You know, I hope you had a good time watching this video. I hope sincerely that if you have a struggle similar to some of the subject matter in this video, like addiction, that I hope that you're able to take something from this and help you on your journey. I'm not a miracle worker and I can't heal the world like Michael Jackson, but I'd be damned if I don't try to help people, you know? Because when I needed it, there were a few people there. I'm TJ. Come back to my channel. holler at me.